What's up, guys? We're burning the midnight oil. We'll give you guys an update on where we're at. So we're getting the letters burned on the burn table, and I'm trying to get done as much as I can. I got a bunch of family stuff that I've been having to take care of. I'm just trying to get done what I can in between. So we're gonna burn the letters tonight. I've got the pipe beveled and cut in half, so I'm ready to get the pipe in here and set up. I think I'm gonna try to put it up on the pipe rollers so that I can weld the caps out, and then I think it will be nice to be able to roll it and get it centered and level so that I can weld the letters to that. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. That's where we're at. We'll come back to you when we got something a little more exciting to show you. All right, guys. We're gonna get this pipe moved on here. We're gonna set it on our pipe rollers. Better move this. Okay, so we'll pick this one with this crane. Get it put on here. Not exactly centered, but we'll be all right. Here we go. Whoa. We don't need any pipe rollers on the floor. Speaking of that, I'll show you guys what I'm gonna do to keep those on the sawhorses. I'm sure we'll get some safety police officers out there that wanna tell us why this is a bad idea.
I don't want it.
So I'll show you guys what I'm doing here. Okay, so I'll show you guys what I've done. So I've just put some good tacks on this. Just got some little tabs on here, and that's gonna keep that from lifting up or twisting. That's really all we need. We're not getting too Western with this thing. So that should be good enough. That's gonna keep them from walking off the sawhorses. I'll grab that end cap and show you guys what I'm thinking for welding that on. All right, guys, so I tried this with dual shield and it was too hot for it. It kept blowing through. So I've got the short arc machine hooked up, running it at 19 volts and 351 inches a minute. So we're gonna run this. That is the standard settings for 3/16 on this machine. So we're just gonna see how it goes. I'm gonna see how the speed works out. The other way to run this, I think the way I want to run this, being short arc, it does really well running downhill. So I'm actually going to come over here on this side and have it run this way, and that way it'll actually drag it downhill. One of the hardest parts about getting this perfect is getting your speed adjusted right. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, here we go. Well, that didn't work out the greatest, but it was all right. I got close to where I wanted it. So that's probably the best section right there. You can see I had a few stops and starts. So we'll clean it up with a grinder and it'll end up looking like that. So we'll go ahead and clean that up now. Alright, so here's what she looks like. Just went ahead and rounded those corners. Wanted them to look nice and smooth. Knocked all the spatter off. Okay, so that's going to look good. Okay, so the next order of business is I want the seams to match up when I weld these together. And I think I want the seam probably on top where you're not going to see it. So I'm going to rotate this till the seam's on top. Once I get the seam on top, I'll hit it with my centering head in a couple different spots, and then I'll draw my line across that. The centering head is going to give me top dead center of my pipe. And then we're not going to touch this. We're going to leave it just like that. That way we'll be able to set our letters on here in line with that line, and they'll be perfectly plumb. It should look good and it should work out. So we'll go ahead and knock the rust off of this. We'll grab our centering head, we'll get our line on here, and then we should be able to get those tacked on. So we'll come back to you when we get to that point. All right, so here's our centering head. If you haven't seen me use this on the channel, this is what they look like. There's a couple different brands of these that I've seen. Curvomark makes a pretty decent one. The best one I've seen is probably the one made by Flange Wizard, and they make a couple different sizes. But this one here, I actually got it off Amazon. It is machined aluminum and it's got some magnets on it. I've had really good luck with this one. This is the type of tool you don't want to drop, so you want to try to avoid that. But here's how it works. So I'm just going to set that at 90 degrees. You can see that's 90. It's upside down for some reason. But you set it at 90 degrees, that way you know you're perfectly straight up and down. And then I always like to make sure these magnets are clean so it doesn't throw off the level. And I'll go ahead and set this on here. You can see the magnets kind of click it in place. And I want to try to be center of this seam here. I just think that'll kind of help us, which, ooh, it's dang close. Okay, so I'm going to get that to where it's perfectly level. Now that that's level, you can see the arrow's still on my mark and the bubble's right in the middle. I'm going to go ahead and hit this. Okay, so I got my first mark, and it's pretty much dead center of this seam. I kind of like that. It's going to help me keep things in place. So I'm just going to go about every 3 feet, because I know I've got a 4-foot ruler, a 4-foot yardstick. I guess that wouldn't be a yardstick, would it? But if I go close to every 3 feet, I should be good. And the seam may not be perfectly centered the whole way, so you need to just check and make sure that everything's lined up. Okay, so I'm just going down through here, getting this level every 2.5, 3 feet. Make a mark, and then I like to circle it with some soapstone so I can see it, because the dimple you put on here is not real, it's not real big. Sometimes you can lose it. Another way you could do this is just make your mark on either end and snap it with a chalk line. I am going to hit this just a little bit, maybe with a Scotch-Brite pad, and knock this rust off. That way I'll be able to draw my line on here and have nice clean metal so that I can get these letters tacked on. Let's do that now, and we'll come back to you. All right, guys, so I've pulled 150 inches off the end of the pipe. I've got a torpedo level here. And now we're going to go ahead and see if we can get this tacked up. I'm just going to set this in place, and this doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but you know how we roll. We're going to get it as close as we can. So I just need to get some tacks on this. Okay. Grinder down. So I'm just setting it right on my line here. Okay, so I just want to tack it. I don't want to get too crazy. I just rolled this pipe a little bit, so I've got to put my centering head back on here. The good thing about this is I can set my centering head back on any one of these marks where the dimple is. Make sure it's nice and level there. Make sure it's snapped onto the pipe tight. And then I can just roll it back level. And I'm actually going to leave that there so that I know when it is level. I need to get my other letters here. So I'm basically 12.5 inches between words. And remember, I've got to split this. So I got to put the next word in there. And there needs to be 12.5 inches. And it's going to go right to the end of that. But I got to leave room because I got to weld this section to the other section. So if we get, it's actually from here. I'm just going to mark 12.5 inches. This is just a rough measurement here. And that next word should fit in right there and go right to the end of the pipe. Just get a couple tacks on this. Now this one's way out of whack, so I've actually got to cut this one and bust it loose, straighten it up, and re-tack it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. When I get ready to weld these out, we'll come back to you. Alright guys, we're going to see if we can't get these welded out here. I've got my stitch pattern laid out, I've got some tacks on it, so I know where my stitches are. What I'll do is I'll put my level on here, and whichever way it needs to pull, that's the side I start on. So it needs to go this way just a hair. I'm going to start on this side. Here we go. So then I'll pull to the other side. Just a game of back and forth. And then I'm sure I'll have to go back through and tweak all of these. Gotta love it. Okay guys, we got this one all welded out. So that's kind of what we're looking at. So I'm going to get that next one in here. And I'm going to go ahead, pull my 150 off the end, and I'll weld the other 2 words to it. Same way, 12.5 inches between the 2 words, 150 inches off the end. We're gonna cap the end. So you guys know the drill. So I probably won't put you through doing this all over again. So I'm gonna get the other one in here. I'm gonna weld it out, weld the words in place, and then I've got to get these off to get blasted. So they're gonna get blasted, and then once I get them blasted, I'll probably come back and show you guys what they're gonna look like with some paint on them. I've got to get them back in here in the shop and put some heat on them so that the paint will set up. We're gonna paint them with some epoxy paint. So for now, that's probably all I'm gonna show you until I get to the next stage of the project. So I'll keep you guys posted. Okay guys, I told you I'd give you some video of me loading this in the truck. So we're gonna see if I can do it without damaging the truck on camera. I've actually had it in the truck a couple times now, but we're gonna get some video of it. I got a job I gotta do tomorrow, so figured what better time than now for me to show you guys. And you can see it does squat the truck about 2.5, 3 inches. But lucky for me, I got airbags on this. I put them on it when I got it, and so if I pump up my airbags, then it's no big deal. Hey. Okay. I've got this box that snaps up on there, and I want to show you guys what I got in it real quick. Okay, so I got my torch in here, wire wheels, flap discs, hard discs, zip discs. Got some torch tips, plasma tips, consumables, stuff like that. So that's in the bottom drawer. In this drawer I got a wrench, so if I got to swap out bottles, some hand clamps, spare lenses for my hood, some flux core wire, safety glasses. More tools, got some tools in here, some dogs, files, screwdrivers, wire brushes, Sharpies, earplugs, spare batteries for my hood, and then I've got precision tools like squares, levels, T-bevel, pipe wrap, that stuff in there. So this is the bulk majority of things that I will use if I'm doing mobile work. And it's just kind of handy. Usually I put this on before I load it, but I wanted to show you guys what was in it. So that just snaps in place right there. It's not going anywhere because I've got one of those Milwaukee brackets that it snaps to. And I positioned it so that the exhaust won't heat it up and melt it. So we should have pretty much everything we need. Anyway, just wanted to give you guys a look at what it looks like in the truck, and then I can get on my phone, pump up my airbags, and I usually pump them up to, I think if I pump them up to 35 PSI, it gets the truck back to where it's level. So kind of handy there. The tailgate still shuts. I've got clearance. The sucker's heavy enough that it ain't going anywhere. It's not going to slide around in the truck. So anyway, when I get down there and I'm getting ready to weld, I'll give you guys a look, kind of show you what I'm working on down there and how this functions out of the back of the truck. So we'll see you guys then. All right, guys, we're all set up here. Bridger's busy grinding over there. So we're over here at this house, and I'll show you guys what we got. We got these great big pipes that are concreted in the ground. And so you see I've got some lines marked on this. We got to stand that tube up and butt it into this pipe and stitch weld it all the way up and down this. And then there's some masons that are coming on Monday to center block around this. They're pillars, And this is actually what's going to hold the head gate that I've been working on. So each one of these pillars is going to have that upright piece, and then the top rail will go all the way across this. So that's kind of what we're doing. So we're going to see if we can't get her knocked out. We'll give you some more video once we get to where we're welding them out. All right guys, let's show you where we're at. Bridger's over here. So Bridger welded all these. Freaking chip off the old block. Keep it tighter. See, you're getting too wide. Just keep it tighter and go a little slower.
Is that what my problem was in the picture I sent you? How it's like that?
You're just a little too wide. Consistency. You could probably light up again and start right here and fill that up the same as that. All right, so me and Bridge are gonna tag team this one. He's gonna run that side, I'm gonna run this side. Here we go.
I just need to be more consistent.
You're not pausing in the corners. If you pause in the corner, see how you're getting this will give you what's called wagon tracks, and if you were taking a test you'd fail because you'd get slag trapped in there. See how mine has a nice crisp edge? You need to go, you're not turning. See, here you're going too far, now here you're not going far enough. So go over and pause. Pause, 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 pause. This looked good, but then I don't know what happened here. So all right guys, welcome back. We've got our uprights and our top rail. We got them all set up here. Tonight we get to paint, and boy am I thrilled. I just love painting.
You serious, Clark?
So what we have to do is we've got to coat these with a 2-part epoxy primer. And then we've got to run a urethane top coat over the top of that, which will give it the black color. So our primer is a gray color. Right now they're still just blasted, but I'll show you guys what that looks like in case you guys have never seen what a blasted surface looks like. When I say blasted, I mean sandblasted. So it gives it a profile. It gives the paint something to latch onto, something to stick to. It basically increases the surface area, and it gives it a rough texture so that the paint will adhere to that surface. So I'll go ahead and I'll show you guys a close-up of that. Hopefully you can see that, but I mean, you could file your fingernails on that. That's about what it feels like, is a fingernail file. So it gets it nice and rough. So I'm going to go ahead and get set up. When I get to the point where I'm ready to start coating these and getting some primer on it, I'll come back and give you guys a look. It's not all that exciting, but I'll just give you guys a quick look at what the primer looks like and then what the top coat looks like. So let's do it.